Hey friends of loop music, my rap name is Alex, and a few years ago I made a switch from looping with regular loop stations and loop pedals to looping with these things, iPads. And even if you don't plan on doing that, your loop station, whatever you use to loop with, probably has a line in where you can direct in with some cables, and these things have a pretty robust sound palette. I'm going to get into that in a bit. Hey, welcome to Live Loopers. We are a network of people who like music, and particularly music where you layer up lots of sounds. I've been looping for several years, which is still reasonably new to looping. And the first device that I ever started looping on was an RC505. I saw commercials for it, Dub Effects. Tioneb.
Gentlemen, this is not a concept, cause way above there's the music you enters that says you listen.
Hey Tioneb. Both did ads for it, and I became very enamored of the shiny thing with the beautiful lights, and began what to me was a huge fundraising campaign to get the most expensive piece of kit that I've ever used. And the RC505 really served me really well for quite a while. But if I had to put my finger on the number one thing that caused me to look somewhere else, that would be portability. I am a performer that likes to perform outdoors. I like to grab my stuff and go. I transport my gear on a bicycle. And I wasn't really strictly limited by the fact that the RC505 needs to be plugged into a wall socket. I got myself a generator, a little 25-pound generator, and took it outside and played to my heart's content. It's just sort of heavy after a while. The 25-pound generator, then carrying my amp, then carrying a whole bunch of synthesizers and gear and all. I was like, there's gotta be something lighter. And you want to know something that's a lot lighter than generators, and you don't even have to plug it into anything. You just bring it back home and plug it into the wall for a few hours. It's these things. This is super duper light. Even if you stack up, I don't care how many iPads, network them all together and get 5, 6, 20, they're still not going to be heavy. So in terms of portability, that's a win. Next big thing for me is I'm not made of money, and so I had already expended a lot of money getting the RC505, and trying to switch over. I needed to switch over to something that I could afford, and let me show you. Here's an iPad mini, first generation, on eBay for $70. And if I don't like that, here's an iPad mini, second generation, on Craigslist, local to me, $100. So yeah, in terms of affordability, that's a win. What's next on my list of pros? Oh, suitability. Sam Perry, who is awesome, just recently did a tutorial on the RC505 talking about
One of the main reasons why I rate this pedal so highly is it has 5 different looping channels.
And on iPad, if you're going to use your iPad for looping, but you don't need to use the iPad as the looper, you could use it just as a sidecar, making some sounds. I tend to use iPads for both the looping and the sound generation. But if you just want to use iPads for one or the other, if you're using iPad for looping, they have lots and lots of different apps you can loop with, and one of them is loopyHD, which I use. And right here you can see I've got not 5 but 9 tracks, and if I didn't want to be limited to 9, I could go all the way up to 12. I just can't even wrap my brain around 12. Like I'm just 9 is as many as I ever really need to use. Uh, so yeah, that's more than double. 12 is more than double 5. And not only do you have like 9, 12 tracks, but you can just with a touch and a slide, you can merge tracks together. So if you have like 3 or 4 tracks and you're not going to need them as independent tracks anymore, you can just slide those 3 into one. So you just have tracks and tracks and tracks and tracks. That is super convenient. loopyHD is a story for another video, but man, is it easy for me to do what I'm trying to do in live performance. So that's a win. So now let's talk about that sound palette. The versatility of iPads and the range of different sounds that the different apps can generate is kind of mind-blowing. And not only that, but just the cost of getting a wide sound palette is amazingly low. You got nice piano sounds in here. You got guitar sounds in here. Electric guitar sounds. You like trumpets, don't you? But how about that low brass like tubas? I mean, of course, you got plenty of drum sounds. More crazy synth sounds than you could shake a stick at. The point is, if you're looking for a sound, you can probably find it for the iPad. Most of the developers that develop music apps these days, they're developing it for an iPad. Not true of other devices nearly as much. And the last thing on my list of things that make these iPads so awesome is just utility, the number of other things that they can do besides just playing music. You know, you got your scheduler, you could surf the web, you can, if you're running low on cameras, you just turn your iPad into a camera. Not true of your other loop pedals, loop devices. Have you ever tried to take your loop station and let your child draw on it during a doctor's office visit? No. But yeah, you can do that on an iPad. You don't want them to physically draw on it's got a screen and you just draw with your finger. But yeah, there's so many other things that an iPad can do other than just make music. So when you're getting awesome little music device at an affordable price, you're getting a whole lot more than that. That's all I'm saying. So that brings me to the downsides. There have been some issues since I've made the switch over to iPads. Number one, far and away, biggest drawback that I've had using iPads: durability. iPads, you either, well, I mean, they smash easily. I've had more than one problem with this. You either had to get like one of those life-proof cases, or you got to be really careful with them. The next issue, another thing that really sticks in my craw, is compatibility. And Apple, as a company, just seems to be all about the planned obsolescence. I've written software before. I know what it's like. I know sometimes you want to, jump to the next level and just scrap everything that came before and put in some new features and just start afresh. But man, With the operating system iOS 11, they made a hard line in the sand, and like all the old apps sort of kicked out of the App Store, and every developer had to go and make a new version, or else the versions, so there are lots and lots of apps that I love that I have to keep an old iPad with the old iOS and make sure that the iOS never updates in order to still use those great music apps from before. So it's kind of then you gotta get into a situation of needing a new iPad and an old iPad, and still worth it, but definitely a pain. And another con, another thumbs down, is just there's so much fiddling to get from one screen to another screen. Like, I mean, if you're in a live session and you want to be making music and you want to just go as fast as you can from one instrument to another, iPad is there's so many instances where you have to touch the screen 3 or 4 times and wait for 2 or 3 things to load, and it's I just wish it could be faster. And last on my list of thumbs down is compatibility and configurability. It's on an iPad you kind of got what you got, and in terms of like recording things and getting them to play nice with, like, I'm a PC guy and trying to get access to my files, it's just but yeah, apparently all of these things are supposed to get better with the new iPad OS that they're coming out with, but yeah, by the time I'm able to afford one of them brand new iPads with the, yeah, that's just whatever for me. So yeah, I'm Alex. I loop with iPads nowadays, and I've been having a lot of fun with it. I've had a lot of success in terms of getting the usability out of it that I want to get out of it. I hope any of this helped you. You can check us out on Facebook and Twitter. You can check some of these old videos about specifically how to set up for iPad looping and how to configure your loopyHD. And loop on!